Now for the airfill, I just took a little piece of plywood, ground it down, set it up on the front, and C8'd it so that it was set on here, and then ran a bead of high sol, which basically made 3 brackets. Just ran 3 little beads, let that dry, and a little bit of high sol on the back. So now it's strong as can be. That high sol is the most fantastic stuff in the world. And then pop 2 holes for my air valves. So my air valves sit right up on top of the aircraft, right under the canopy. All right, for my retracts, I put the servo. This is the front of the aircraft. See, there's the front of the aircraft. I put the servo right down in there, 2 pieces of balsa, and just high soled them down. They're nice and strong. And then my connecting rod, I just used a Z-bend on both sides and measured it perfectly so there's no adjustment needed. And then I took and made this little wedge of wood and high soled it in to mount my valve on. So it ends up being on the left-hand side of the aircraft facing forward. Now for the brakes, I went to the other side of the aircraft, high soled a piece of plywood down here, put my brake valve on, and same thing with the servo. I just 2 little pieces of balsa, high sol to give myself a mounting bracket, and screwed it down. And the same thing, if you look down in there, that's the another piece of Z-bend wire, measured absolutely perfect. And I used one of those Z-bend Z-bend pliers, so you can make it exactly perfect. You don't need to do any adjusting. It's fantastic. What you want to do is make the Z-bend a little shorter than it's needed so that the turn on the servo doesn't reach the limits. And if it doesn't reach the limits, you always can dial them out, so there's no adjustment, mechanical adjustment needed. Okay, here's the finished aircraft. You can see that I mounted all the tank and air stuff right on top. They're velcroed in. That's the tank for the gear and the tank for the retracts, or excuse me, tank for the brakes. And the little inlets for them are right there. And as we go back, all the hoses are underneath. They break off onto little T's, and they're all labeled nicely. Further back is all the radio gear. Everything's tie wrapped down. There's a lot of wires, a lot of servo wires. There's my receiver, Velcroed to the side. It's not Velcroed right now. It's kind of hanging there. I got to move it up. So that's what you want to do. I wanted to show you. Put some Velcro on the side, some Velcro on the receiver, and then you can take and lift it up and just Velcro it right there where those 2 pieces are at. Right now, I've just got it hanging down. And then bundle everything together nicely. Now, be aware, this thing really is nose heavy. So putting the battery right here in this area where I thought I was going to put it, right on the side, didn't work. Or not on the side, but in the back of the cockpit cover. It ends up having to go all the way back there into the tail of the airplane. I'm using a 6-cell 5000, so it's a pretty beefy battery, and that sucker has to be all the way back there. So be aware. And that ends up putting it right about where the white paint and the blue paint touch, right in the back. And it's just barely heavy enough, but as you can see, the motor I'm using isn't a very heavy motor. I mean, well, it's actually just about the same size you're going to use. It is the same size you'd be using in an EDF. So just be aware, you need to add a lot of weight to the back of this airplane. Or also here, one other thing I did, because I wanted to get this thing done, I was tired of working on it, I mounted the speed control right on the back of the airplane. I just took and used some silicone glue and ran the wires out the hole in the back. And there it is. It actually keeps that thing nice and cool, and it doesn't look crazy back there. So There's the entire airplane.